What's up, Michigan State fans? This is Jacob Hatznick here, back for another episode of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. This is now our podcast for Thursday, May 14th, 2026, talking some hoops with you guys today. Kind of want to talk specifically about the lone incoming transfer for Michigan State, Anton Bonke, because again, it was about 2 weeks after the transfer portal opened is when they got Bonke. We've kind of been able to sit on this information. I've been plenty of time to think about what the addition of Bonk kind of overall means for the program, how they landed on Bonk, some of the other names that were tossed around during the portal process that MSU obviously ended up did not getting. And when you kind of add it all up, it adds up. It makes sense. And I kind of want to sit down for you guys and kind of explain why I feel that way. I think we should kind of maybe do this a little bit chronologically here, because I think that's just the best way to kind of tell about it. When the portal opened, I don't know when Aiden Shrell actually. When it was time to look for the big, there were a couple of names I thought of. One, it wasn't in my original here's five names. I had Bonk in that article, which that's my subtle flex, but there were five names I had, and because he hadn't entered the portal or announced that he was going to enter the portal yet, he wasn't on there. But when Aiden Sherrill announced that he was in the portal, I mean, it just kind of felt like that's the guy, and that has to be the guy. It made so much sense. MSU recruited him coming out of high school. He's from Detroit. He was pretty good. He led the SEC in blocks this past season. So he's a good defender. He can stretch the floor. Was again highly productive at an SEC team that made the Sweet 16 this past season. It made so much sense for Michigan State. There is only a couple of problems that probably emerged here. The big thing is that while MSU only needed one big, everyone kind of needed a big this year. Michigan winning the title did not help with that because they had three big men. Or Lendeborg's not really a big man, just a massive front court. Lendeborg is what 6'9". Merez Johnson, 6'10". Ademar is 7'2", 7'3". Just behemoths in the paint, and they were able to use lineups with those their starting lineup. Their starting lineup had three just giant dudes, and it worked. And it's a copycat league, and people copy each other. You look at the national title when you're okay, we should probably do that a little bit. So everyone was kind of going for big men this past season, and this is kind of a basic supply and demand issue with economics. It's just there's only so many big men in the portal for one. If you want a true bona fide center, they probably need to be 6'9", 6'10", on the shorter end of that. And there's just only so many people like that who are, both good enough at basketball. You're not just taking anyone who's that tall, and is also entering the transfer portal with remaining eligibility. So it is a very limited pool for high major teams to kind of pluck guys out of to go do this. And when everyone wants the same handful of guys in this era where everything is kind of a bit of a bidding war, the price goes up and up and up and up and up. There was a report from Field of 68 where Sherrill was commanding $4 million before he committed to Indiana. Sherrill, there was an Instagram post about it. He called it a lie, and a comment deleted said comment. So is the report true? I don't really know. But if it is, and $4 million these days for a top end portal center does not sound that ridiculous. It seems about right. And obviously, as you might know, Aiden Sherrill ended up picking Indiana out of the transfer portal. And there's, when you think back to it, it makes more sense that way. And I'll explain why. Michigan State has a lot of players coming back. One of the highest some of the most talent coming back on the roster in the sport. You're probably getting Jeremy Fears back. You're still waiting on the official decision from him, but that seems to be the expectation right now. Jordan Scott's coming back. Cohen Carr's coming back. You got a lot of significant contributors from last year coming back. You've got Caleb Glenn coming back. He'll be back from injury. You've got a really good freshman class coming in. It's just you have a lot of pieces already set up. before you entered the portal. That was not the case with Indiana, and like, really most teams are just kind of going into the portal with so many needs they need to fill it. Um, but Indiana has one player from their roster coming back next season, just one. It was Trent Sisley, and he averaged 4 something points per game. So it's basically just a clean slate. You're starting all over again. You got a couple freshmen coming in, but I think of like of their remaining scholarship players with eligibility, was like 7 out of 8 entered the portal. Because I mean, Indiana wasn't very good last season. They made the tournament. They missed the tournament, though they'd make it in an expanded format. More the reason why that's garbage, but that's I've already shown my thoughts on that a little bit. So Indiana doesn't really have players with to make promises to. There's no ripple effect, and there's no because when you pay someone so much money, especially on the higher end from a portal player, that can have a ripple effect in locker rooms. Indiana doesn't have a locker room, so they don't have to worry about how much they pay in Sherrill because it won't matter. It's just when you're at Michigan State, when you look at Michigan State's roster situation, that can definitely matter. If you're Jeremy Fears, I don't know if Jeremy Fears thinks this way. I'm not a mind reader. But if I were Jeremy Fears, and I don't know how much he makes, but probably not $4 million last season, but whatever I was making, if you paid Aiden Sherrill, let's be generous, say $2.5 million, $3 million, whatever he got, whatever he's getting, I better get more of it because I'm an All-American. I'm the best passer in the country. I'm the really could be the best player to come through Michigan State since Cassius Winston. Once he's said and done, I truly think that it could definitely be a debate if he stays the full length. But Fears is the heart and soul of the team. Like if he kind of has to be the highest paid player because that's kind of how it works. Like it's the right thing to do in that way. Because if I wasn't going to get paid as much as Aiden Sherrill, Fears could have entered the portal. It's too late now, obviously. But Fears could enter the portal and go get whatever Aiden Sherrill's getting somewhere else. There will be a team that would give him that money. So it's just kind of Cohen Carr's the same way, really. Cohen Carr scored more points than Aiden Sherrill last year. He's the most really exciting player in college basketball, just in terms of how good his highlight tape is. Like whatever you gave Aiden Sherrill, you should probably be giving Cohen Carr as well. So you have to think about that. It's just retaining your talent throughout the portal window. And that's why from the outset, from the rumors I had heard, like that seems to be one reason why it just wasn't a fit at Michigan State. Just the price point and the effect it would have on the locker room is just kind of too great. Bonke is kind of in that sweet spot for me, just in terms of what you'd think his NIL valuation would be, and like kind of his production as a player. One, I think he's good enough to fill the need. Like I really do think like I'm more high on the addition than I think most people are. He wasn't my first choice. I would if I could just pick a player, it would be Aiden Sherrill to this day in terms of like guys who were in the portal. In more realistic options, I guess. It would be Sherrill, but Bonk makes a whole lot of sense. Firstly, he's probably cheaper, or he's almost definitely cheaper than Sherrill. Sherrill was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He's at Alabama. He's coming from an SEC school that made the Sweet 16. Bonk is from a tiny island nation called Vanuatu. He's only been playing basketball since he was 16 years old. And he's coming up from Charlotte, a mid-major school. You don't need he's not going to be asking for as much money. He's just not. Again, Sherrill's ranked higher. He's produced at a high major school, so obviously he's going to have more right to ask for more money. But Bonk's going to be cheaper. But I do think the ceiling with Bonk is very, very high still because he's 7'2". He's made big jumps during his college career because he's kind of so raw. He's so new to the sport. He has a lot of room to grow. And I do think he can make a jump here at Michigan State for his senior year of college. If the 5-and-5 rule gets passed, he'd have another year on top of that. So either 1 or 2 years of eligibility. So that fits the timeline pretty well for Michigan State as well. It's just, and I just watch him and I think he fits the system really, really well as well. He's, for 7'2", someone who's so new to playing basketball, he doesn't really move like a giraffe. Like a lot of big guys who are raw just can't really move when they're 7'2". Like he moves athletically, like he's a basketball player out there. So I'm very, very excited in that way for Bonk as well. And then you kind of get to the other options that were realistic, maybe on the cheaper end that MSU was also considering. One of those names was Christian Reeves from Charleston. Another name that kind of popped up, I thought, was a an option earlier in the process was Cho Maychot, also from Charleston. But Christian Reeves did reportedly make an official visit to Michigan State, or take a visit, I should say, really. And I am glad they picked Bonk over him. I'll get into that more. Another name that was popping up, there was at least a Zoom meeting, I believe, with Michigan State. Frank Kepnon from, what was it, Washington. Uh, both players, I'm very, very glad MSU went with Bonk over them. They both committed to other schools later on in the process. Reeves, 2 days after Bonk went to Michigan State, committed to Kansas. Bonk was also recruited by Kansas as well. And Kepnon ended up going to Kentucky a couple of days ago. So, for Reeves, there's this issue this past year actually, where he was playing through a torn labrum. That was a report from Jeff Goodman, Field of 68. He's going to have I don't know which labrum it was, but that's in the shoulder. He's going to have a procedure on that labrum, and he's going to miss a big chunk of the summer because of that. That's workouts. That's maybe some practices earlier on in the season that he's missing, which again, when you're starting out a new program, that can be some valuable time. Kepnon has just been injured his whole career, pretty much. He's played 6 seasons of college basketball, and he's only been available and played in all those games in in a season one time in 6 years. There's been something that sidelined him in 5 out of his 6 years of college basketball. There's been a COVID year and two waivers. That's why he's eligible to be a seventh-year senior. Started at Oregon for 2 years, 4 years at Washington. That's why he's eligible for a seventh year at Kentucky. And also, frankly, I just think Bonke is better than both of them. Bonke was playing in a stronger conference than Reeves. They had very, very similar stats. I think Reeves had some decent like analytical numbers. Like if you're more into the advanced stats, like his box plus minuses was pretty good from what I was seeing from him. I'm trying to remember like the highlights and the film that I watched on them to remember what they were good at. But Reeves was at Duke, went to Clemson, went down to Charleston. Now he's back up at Kansas. But Kepnon would have been the one that would have gotten me because just very, very limited offensively. He's a really good dunker, would be a really great alley-oop threat. He's a really good rim protector, but he's just very limited offensively. Bonk isn't as limited offensively. I won't say he's unlimited, obviously, but he can stretch the. Kepnon can't shoot. Bonk can shoot. I think Reeves can shoot a bit, but Bonk was playing tougher competition, a slightly better conference. In the American Conference, it's just the American Conference now. I think it's not the AAC anymore, but slightly better competition than Reeves was getting at Charleston in the CAA. So it's just, I think it came down to just they had kind of three options on the table here: Bonk, Reeves, Kepnon. Sorry, that's my pen that I like to hold during this. But they had three options here, and I think that they picked the best one out of those three. I'm trying to think back to some. Now I'm kind of circling back to some of the other expensive options. I remember Cincinnati transfer Mustafa Jam was on there. He picked Michigan. Yeah, Michigan got him. So I mean that's kind of tough right there. But again, Michigan a lot more play. They have a really big high school class coming in. I'm pretty sure Michigan does. But like they're replacing a day tomorrow. You know that's not. I mean, Dusty May's Dusty May's doing what he's doing for better or worse. In that way. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I think a lot of people wanted Flory Badunga. I kind of wrote about it a little bit. It was just like, I don't think that was ever happening. He went to Louisville. Again, it's just if you want Izzo to, drop the bag, quote unquote, on a portal recruit and maybe kind of recruit over his established veterans on the team, it's just not really going to happen, I think. Maybe he should do that once in a while, try to go get that blue chip guy. Once Michigan won the title, that was kind of the position I took. Like you kind of really need to go for the best player available and figure it out from there. But well, again, he's still the coach. He's probably not taking pointers from me. And we'll have to see how Anton Bonke does. So it's just overall, I think for Tom Izzo's vision, Anton Bonke was kind of always the guy in that way. He's in that sweet spot NIL wise where he's affordable, but he also does enough production wise where he can get the job done, but not also have those unintended consequences of giving a guy a giant NIL deal. And also, again, like I said, just good enough. So, yeah, that's kind of just, I just wanted to kind of say some of my thoughts here on that right there. There'll be a written article as well if you want to read that as well at Michigan State Spartans on SI and at SpartanNation.com. More podcasting content coming your way tomorrow. But signing off, I'm Jacob Hatzanika. I'll see you guys around.